seats where Democrats had incumbents and they retired.
For Tollings, of course, 38 years in the Senate.
Right, and in North Carolina, John Edwards, of course, John Breaux in Louisiana, and then, of course, in Florida, where you have Bob Graham.
This other race we're watching, 20% of precincts in North Carolina, Representative Richard Burr against Erskine Bowles, former chief of staff for Bill Clinton. A couple-point lead in that, but again, only 20% of precincts reporting. Let's look at Louisiana, though. A fascinating system here. This would be amazing. David Vitter, a Republican. They haven't sent a Republican to the Senate since Reconstruction. If these numbers hold, he's getting 55%. The reason you see three people here, they have a Cajun system. It's basically a primary today. Right. Anyone who gets 50% plus one, they go on. If no one gets 50% plus one, two people go to a runoff a month from now. But this is amazing. David Vitter in the lead. You know, that's what we've been seeing for a while, that David Vitter was actually getting to the 50% mark in some early polling, which was a big surprise. It was expected that Chris John, congressman, was going to get into a runoff with David Vitter. David Vitter from the New Orleans suburbs. This would be a very big surprise, and again, also would be a big blow for Democrats. Let's caution here. 1% of precincts in reporting. The numbers are tiny here. It may mean nothing. Florida Senate, a closely watched race, a big money race, a lot of interest in this. Mel Martinez, of course, former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Betty Castor, state education official. The numbers changing as we speak. 54% of precincts in. This thing is very close indeed. It's going to look much like, I'm sure, just how close we've seen the presidential contest in 2000. The Martinez-Castor race, of course, very close here in an evenly divided state. Martinez is hoping, he's Cuban-American, he's hoping that he can really coalesce Hispanics, not just Cuban-Americans, but Hispanics, a very big growing population, especially in the middle part of the state. If Mel Martinez wins, he will be the first Cuban-American to serve in the United States Senate, a point he makes frequently. Amy Walter will continue to watch these races, some very close races indeed.
Anders?
We haven't called Chuck Schumer?
At this Hey, at this point, we're still, still collating the information.
Okay.
Chuck Schumer is the incumbent in New York State. Yes. We're still waiting to see what happens on that, although I doubt there's going to be much done.
I don't think anybody's waiting to see what happens.
Exactly.
I think Chuck went to bed.
Anderson and Amy, thank you very much. I want to bring our viewers up to date. You see a lot of numbers at the bottom of your screen. We're showing our viewers numbers that are coming in from the Associated Press. The Associated Press bringing us the raw data, the raw election numbers. Sometimes you see a zero there. It's the polls have closed. That doesn't mean it's going to be zero. It only means that we haven't received any numbers from the Associated Press yet. We'll give you those numbers certainly as soon as we get them from the Associated Press. They're bringing us all the general raw election tabulations into the CNN election headquarters. Much more coming up. Much more coming up from here at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square in New York. We'll take another quick break. We'll be right back.
CNN's coverage of America Votes 2004 is sponsored by America.
A CNN investigation. Kingdom on the Brink. CNN Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
CNN election headquarters, Times Square, New York. Let's recap where we stand. Almost 9:30 p.m. on the East Coast. The popular vote, these are real numbers, with 16% of the vote now in. George W. Bush with 53%, just over 12 million votes. John Kerry with 46%. Ralph Nader has 50,000 votes. That's less than 1%. Let's take a look at the all-important Electoral College. 155 votes so far for Bush, 112 for Kerry, 270 needed to be elected President of the United States. Key battleground states that we have not yet been able to project winners in. Florida, look at these numbers. 53% so far for Bush, 46% for Kerry. Nader with 1%, almost 20,000 votes. 54% of the precincts reporting, almost half the vote in. Pennsylvania, 14% of the precincts reporting. Bush with 29%. Kerry at 71%, very early in that state. Ohio, 9%, less than 10% of the vote in. Bush with 53%, Kerry 47%. Jeff Greenfield, help us understand what we're seeing.
The problem is we don't know where these votes are coming from. It's as big a mistake to assume that Bush is actually leading in Florida as it would be to assume that Kerry is ahead in Pennsylvania. The only thing that caught my eye was that Bush is running slightly better than from Kerry than in the Senate race Martinez was against Betty Castor. If those votes are coming from the same place, it suggests a slight increase for Bush. But, for instance, South Florida, supposed to be a Kerry strength, If that's in the mix, that's one thing. If it's not, it's another. So I think we're doing this because, as a viewer, many of us have often been frustrated by just percentages. We want to see where the votes are. Here they are. They haven't told us the story that we're going to be telling in the hours ahead.
In Pennsylvania, for example, 71% for Bush, 20% for Kerry, 14% reporting. Those votes could predominantly be from Philadelphia. As a result, there could be a lopsided number. We don't know that, but that's possible. Let's take a look at these other states. Iowa's not yet closed. They're 10 p.m. on the East Coast. Wisconsin and Michigan. Wisconsin right now only less than 1% of the vote in, very early, slight lead for Bush. Michigan only 2% in, slight lead for Bush as well.
Right. The picture you have in these 9 states, when it unfolds, is probably going to be the picture that reveals who the winner of this election is. Because in this mix, you've got states that the Republicans really want to take away from the Democrats. That's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, which Al Gore won by 366 votes. Florida, Ohio, and New Hampshire are the 3 biggest targets the Democrats have had for the Republicans. We're showing you this not because we can tell you what's going to happen, but because all of you out there want to keep your eye on these 9 states as much as any others. Whether there are any surprises coming up in the next hour or two, we really don't know.
Look at New Hampshire right there, 24% of the vote in, a quarter of the vote in. Kerry slightly ahead, 51.48%. Now it's 51.49%.
And Ralph Nader is clearly underperforming from what he did in 2000 in terms of a percentage of the vote.
We have a projection to make right now, so turn around and we can find out what we're going to project together with our viewers right now. Look at this. Louisiana going for George W. Bush with its 9 electoral votes. I don't think any of us could be overly surprised, Jeff, about that.
That's right. This is underwhelming news. This is a state that even Lyndon Johnson couldn't carry in 1964.
Louisiana going for Bush. Let's be able to tell our viewers where the Electoral College stands now with these 9 electoral votes going for George W. Bush. We'll get that ready, put it up on the screen, have an updated tally for our viewers. I believe we have that right now. Bush with 164 electoral votes, Kerry with 112, 270 needed to be elected president. Once again, to remind our viewers, the red states are Bush states, the blue states are Kerry states, and as a result, their white states are states that have closed, but we don't have enough information to project a winner.
And what we do know, and you'll be hearing this until something changes, not a single state has changed from where it was in 2000. All the red states were red states in 2000. All the blue states were blue in 2000.
All right, we have another projection to make right now, and let's put it up in this board over here. CNN can now project Mississippi going for George W. Bush with its 6 electoral votes. Once again, this is not a surprise.
That's putting it mildly.
I think the only thing that's surprising is that it's taken us this long to be able to make that projection.
Jimmy Carter actually won the White House by carrying Mississippi narrowly in 1976. That's been about it for the Democrats since about Harry Truman. Now, he didn't even carry Mississippi.
With that, Mississippi going to George W. Bush, the president is now at 170 electoral votes, 100 shy of the 270 needed to be elected president. John Kerry with 112 electoral votes right now. We'll continue to watch this situation. Let's walk over to our friends over here. Larry.
This count in Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, when you don't know where the counties are, this is all just, it's figures, right? I mean, you don't know.
That's why we're going to go to Stu Rothenberg in a few minutes, along with Bill Hemmer, who has a county-by-county look at where some of these votes are coming from. He's the one who already told us that Bush was running strong in the I-4 corridor in Florida. That's the kind of information that will tell us something about a state. When South Florida comes in, if it's running stronger for Kerry than for Gore, that tells us something.
Or as you said, is that Philadelphia?
Right, that could be totally misleading. Yeah. Carlos, are you surprised that so far on this night, every state that went for Al Gore is so far, we're projecting going for John Kerry. Every state that went for Bush 4 years ago, still staying with Bush. Among those states that we have already projected, there has been no change, given the fact there's been a war, the economy has been a little stagnant, as we all know. There's been so many changes in the country, but so far, at least, the voters are remaining very steady.
So far, but let's not forget that there are some bold bids that both campaigns have made. In the case of the president, as Jeff alluded to earlier, a very bold bid to transform the political geography in the Midwest, going after Wisconsin, going after Iowa, going after Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't voted Republican since 1972, so it would be fairly dramatic if that happened. And conversely, you see the Democrats, and we're going to hear more about this as the night goes on, in the West. in Colorado, in Nevada, and other places try and leverage what they think is potentially a new base, the Hispanic vote, to make a difference.
All right, I want to bring in David Gergen because he knows a lot about this, and he's watching this together with all of us. You've served 4 presidents, Democratic and Republicans. David, give us your thoughts where this stands right now.
Well, Wolf, the building suspense and this long suspense over the 3 big states, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, along with these recent projections with regard to the Senate races showing a number of Republican victories, this long suspense is bound to raise Republican spirits. Just as the evening opened, there was a lot of anecdotal evidence, and people were looking at exit polls and the like. And among Republicans, there were some long faces of deep concern that the president seemed to be underperforming in many places around the country. In a sense, as Bob Novak was saying earlier tonight on your program, that Ohio looked like it was uphill for the president, that James Carville was saying Pennsylvania looks like it's going for Kerry. If Kerry can take 2 of those 3 states, that's going to make a dramatic difference. But now as these actual numbers come in, and I think Bob Woodward is alluding to this point, the numbers seem to conflict with what people were feeling earlier in the night. And I think this must be rallying Republican spirits, because they went in about 2 hours ago. Many Republicans felt this was getting away from them. Now they must feel we've got a really big fighting chance here. Let's see how these numbers come in on places like the I-4 corridor.
David, is it just a fighting chance, or is this even?
Larry, I think it's, we just don't know because of the 3 big states. If President Bush wins 2 out of those 3 states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida, he very likely will win the election. If, on the other hand, John Kerry wins 2 out of those 3 states, let's say he were to win Pennsylvania and Ohio, then the president still has a fighting chance out in the big Midwestern states that Jeff Greenfield was just pointing to. If he can pick up Wisconsin and Iowa, for example, he can still get over, even if he were to lose 2 of the 3, whereas John Kerry can't afford to lose 2 of those 3 big states.
But if Kerry wins 2 of the 3 and they split the upper Midwest, that would favor Kerry, right?
It would, but Kerry has to win 2 out of the 3 there too. I mean, Bush can come in. If President Bush wins Florida, which has 27, then if he takes Iowa and Wisconsin, loses Minnesota, loses Michigan, he's very likely to be reelected. So in the next hour or so, perhaps we'll get these numbers. But right now, I have to tell you, Republicans must be feeling very differently from where they were 2 hours ago, because it does appear that in places like Florida, and I think they were smart to send Ken Melman out here on your program to rally Republicans and say, look, when you actually look at the numbers that are coming in, it's more encouraging than you may think.
Are you surprised, David, that the states that we've been able to project winners in are exactly the states that went Democratic or Republican 4 years ago? Despite all the changes in the country, the voters are still voting similarly to the way they voted 4 years ago.
I guess not, because the fact is that you know, we've been looking at numbers from these states for a long time, and all of these states so far have been ones we expected. I was a little surprised earlier in the evening when it took a while to project in Virginia. It took a while to project in North Carolina. That suggested those were closer than we thought. But in these Senate races, the Republicans are doing pretty well. Maybe we'll have to wait and see how Kentucky comes out. But if you look overall at the Senate races, the Republicans seem to be doing well in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and in Louisiana. And that would be a big pickup if Vitter could come through with more than 50% and not have a runoff. That would be a major pickup for Republicans.
We're going to be watching all those races. Briefly, David, give us some perspective. You watched a lot of presidential races, a lot of campaigns, a lot of angry campaigns over the years. Give us some context to what the American public and people around the world are seeing in the United States tonight.
Well, the good news is that we've got this huge turnout, and that we seem to have so few problems at the polls. We seem to have gotten past that peril. We'll have to wait and see before the night's out. But I think that we have not gotten beyond the poison and the divisions. And I think the real issue for the next president, whoever it is, with all the problems that will be on his desk on January 20th, can he heal the nation? Can he put things back together? And in that sense, the 2000 aftermath and the way it was handled, I think, is the wrong model. The right model for how to handle the aftermath of this bitter close election is going to be the 1960 election matchup between Richard Nixon and John Kennedy, when both men were extraordinarily gracious, both reached out to the middle, both tried to unify the country, and we came out of that welded together, and I think the world saw a more united America. That's going to be the real test for us when this election is over.
All right, David, you're going to be with us all night.